You are now entering the horror sanctum.
Hello and welcome back to the Horror Sanctum podcast. I'm Jay with John, Kellen, and TJ. 2024 is already shaping up to be a pretty solid year for horror films. One particular film we all watched recently is Abigail, which, if you're watching this, was spoiled by my shirt. 2024's Abigail, a group of would-be criminals kidnap a 12-year-old daughter of a powerful underworld figure, holding her for ransom in an isolated mansion. Their plan starts to unravel when they discover their young captive is actually a bloodthirsty vampire. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I wonder who she could be and whose progeny she might be a part of. Uh, yeah, so this is from the Radio Silence guys who brought us such great recent films as Ready or Not and the last two Scream films. And I, to some degree, like pretty much everything these guys put their hands on. So I'll watch anything that they're a part of the creative process of. And I mean, this film really reminds me a lot of like a weird vampire ballerina preteen version of Ready or Not, because essentially it's a single location for the most part. All these characters that you don't know a whole lot about, their backstories are all kind of locked in. And essentially it's a slasher film with a little girl vampire ballerina who's kind of wicked with her different moves and everything. It's very clear, and I'll tell you why it's very clear. It's very clear that from the credits, I knew what they were doing with this film because uh the original Todd Browning 1931 Dracula, the only music used, because it was one of the first talkie films to actually incorporate music, the only music used in that whole film as the entirety of the score is the classical score of Swan Lake, which is the dance and the tune that keeps playing all throughout this film from credits to a very big sequence early on in the film with Abigail doing a whole choreographed dance routine to this thing from the actual ballet of Swan Lake. And it is just the music that would play in that ballet. And so they keep calling back to that. But so initially I knew, okay, this is Dracula's daughter, right? It has to be because, who else is going to be playing to this music? And then by the end, when you get to and there's illusions of you don't know who my dad is, or he's not a super nice guy. Yeah, they're really leaning towards and correct me, is this a universe? It has to be a Universal film, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they
So
did it. They did it so they didn't have. They did it winky, but they didn't want to have to tie it to the franchise. But
well,
it
they've been
it is
trying to create
technically.
this dark universe, right, and reboot all their main characters ever since Van Helsing in 2004, and it's always been a miss, right? They remade Wolfman, they made some shitty version of Frankenstein, another shitty version of Dracula, a terrible Mummy retake with Tom Cruise, and none of these things are taking. So that's probably why they're kind of treading lightly and just using like Easter eggs and stuff. And if something happens with it, which I think this performed pretty well for what the budget and everything was, so I think it would not be out of the question to get a sequel to this, or to this be more of an entry level. This might be more of the type of film to kind of lay the groundwork, kind of like the Conjuring universe did, right? Where one film, you don't really expect a whole lot out of it, but then it gains this following, it does really well, and then you just keep adding on to it, and then you can kind of go backwards and forwards in the timeline. I could see this as being a foundational film that maybe they could actually build something to connect to all those old franchises. But who knows? Time will tell. It could just be another one off. And it's kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's really Dracula's daughter, right? Which there was an original 1930s film called Dracula's Daughter, which is absolutely nothing like this. And apparently, this is very similar to some Russian film that's about a vampire ballerina that I haven't seen and don't remember the name of. So, not looking at you, Radio Silence guys. I don't know. I didn't watch the movie. I don't know if there were any inspiration, but I mean, the visual of a ballerina vampires is very cool, being able to pull off all of those very athletic, graceful moves while murdering someone horrifically. Yeah, that's always kind of cool. It's very Japanese anime-esque kind of in some of the set pieces and some of the kills and things. Um, but it's tight. I like that it runs pretty quickly. I would say the only negative that I could say about it is just because of the nature of the plot, where all these people are using kind of code names, kind of like Reservoir Dogs, where they're not really being who they are. You don't really get a good sense of who the characters are, except about 2/3 of the way into the film, and by that time they're all starting to drop dead, and you don't really connect any of those pieces, and you don't even really know who's lying and who's telling the truth either. So um, essentially everybody except maybe the main girl, who's nice to Abigail, is and ultimately becomes the final girl, is just cannon fodder for the plot and for Abigail to murder and to stalk, kind of like a Friday the 13th kind of. You're rooting for Abigail for most of the film, and she's a very sympathetic character, right? Because it's kind of like Kirsten Dunst is very sympathetic in Interview with the Vampire, where she's stuck as this 12-year-old girl forever, right? I always thought that was so tragic that she would never get to, like, she could be hundreds of years old, which apparently Abigail's probably the same thing, but never really be able to have the body match the experience, right? There's a strange supernatural tragedy in there. So it builds in this sympathetic character, even though it's a sympathetic character that's like born and bred murderer and daughter of probably like Satan incarnate and Dracula, right? But I like this film. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It sets up to where there could be a sequel, could not be a sequel. I would go see the sequel if they would put it out, especially if the Radio Silence guys were a part of it. What do you think?
So I was looking it up. This movie got an 83% on the tomato meter and an 85% audience score. And I fucking hated it. I hated this movie so much. Oh my God. I hated it so bad I couldn't even wait to tell the group in the group chat how much I hated this movie. It absolutely overstayed its welcome because it was hot garbage from beginning to end. Let me rephrase that. The first 10 minutes were so hopeful, and then poor decision after poor decision after poor decision kept driving the spike into my brain that was this movie, and I could not wait for this migraine to stop. If there was a pill that you could take to erase a movie from your memory, I would take that pill every day until I never even remembered the name Abigail. Holy hell. This was such a swing and a miss of such a terrible film with such great actors. You had every potential for this to be great, and it was the worst dredge of hour and 49 minutes that I could slog through. Oh my God. Literally an hour into it, I started looking at the time and I was like, can I just read the description? Can I just read the plot on Wikipedia and pretend like I finished this movie? Because I can't do another 49 minutes of this.
We call
But
that
I
doing
did.
a TJ.
I did that with
persisted.
Deadline, that movie I didn't finish recently.
Oh my God. It was so. So let's start with the most egregious decision in this entire movie. And it was Dan Stevens and Kevin Durant and their shitty, whatever accent they were trying to both portray. Dan Stevens was, of all the accents a British actor, I think he's British, could possibly try to pull off. Why is he trying to do a Brooklyn accent? Come on, guys, we got to kill this vampire. That's all I heard the whole time was some Wish.com Tony Soprano trying to avoid getting murdered, which all of a sudden at the end when he gets vampire powers, now he's all this, now he's evil, like I don't want to get murdered by a vampire, I'm a vampire, I want to murder everybody like a vampire. It was such a switch. Kevin Durant, I love him in so much that he does, and he could have been a great, he plays such a great villain, and he could have been a great big like teddy bear kind of guy. Like maybe he could have been like the protector of her, but instead his accent is somewhere between a brain dead 5-year-old and somebody who might have like visited the lower parts of Russia at one point in time. Like you couldn't really decipher what he was trying to do with his accent for half the film. Half of it sounded like he had an accent, then the other half it sounded like he was just talking. Like I think even he was bored with the movie that he was in.
This is
I'm sure.
This is straight up assault.
Wait, didn't that guy play Colossus in one
He
of the
did.
X-Men movies?
He was in the X-Men Origins, the bad
Yeah.
Wolverine one. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he should have stayed there. You had Giancarlo Esposito, who is phenomenal in everything, and you put him in a closet for an hour and 40 minutes of this movie. Like, how do you not have him be a bigger role? I mean, yeah, sure. I'm sure it was money, but I would just write that off of my resume. I would call IMDb and be like, can you just remove that one just this one time? Can we just pretend I wasn't part of this? The part in the end with the main girl and Abigail, where all of a sudden Abigail is like, oh, don't kill her, I love her. That was the most Martha move that they've done, that any movie has done since Batman and Superman, because it was, oh, you're a shitty parent, I'm gonna kill you because I'm being raised by a shitty parent. Oh, you actually love your son, I want to be loved too. Did we just become best friends? What are they doing? Like, who? You said these directors had done other movies. I get why I hate it, because Scream 6 was also trash, and it one of those movies like Halloween Ends that ruins the entire franchise for me, except this never had a chance to become a franchise because it was shit to begin with. Like, I literally it's worse than any movie I've seen this year that had a budget. And I don't say that lightly, because I've watched some trash this year, but I could not. I had a John moment in Immaculate. I could not get through this film. The only reason I didn't watch it at 2x speed, because I thought if it sounded like a Mickey Mouse movie, it would make it seared into my brain even more. If they were just like, oh, I'm going to kill you, I'm a vampire girl, I'm going to dance to the sugar plum fairies, I'm going to come jump through this elevator, oh, look at that, I've got superpowers, oh my God. The cool thing about being a vampire, it takes a while to learn how to do all the cool shit. Shut up. Nobody cares. I've never wanted a 12-year-old to die in my entire life, and I was this close to praying for it. And that's a horrible thing to do when we're talking about devils and vampires and demons. Will not ever watch this movie again. If we do a episode in the future where, hey, let's revisit movies that we hated, I'm not watching it. Sorry. I'm just gonna I'm phoning it in for that episode. I don't ever want to see this movie again. If they make a steelbook, I'll buy it so I can drive over it and hear the crunch of this god-awful eyesore of a film. And I'm done.
Monster.
So in professional wrestling, they have what they call faces and heels. And the face is a good guy and heel's a bad guy. So audience, what you've just seen is Kellen is full-blown heel. He has gone Hollywood Hogan 1996. He has turned bad guy completely. No,
save us with your Sting the Crow persona.
Right. I love this movie. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I saw it right after. I think Jay saw it. I saw it like a day or so after. It's great. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm a big Radio Silence fan. Ready or Not, I think, is a tremendous underrated film. I've actually warmed up a little to Scream 6. I revisited it, and I don't hate it as much as I did. I think I'm a little more warmed up on that one. I do think they shine the best in stuff like this, where they're not. I know that this is technically Dracula's daughter. I mean, it is. It was even called that in the pre-production, but it's not blatantly that, right? So I think in something like this, they get to shine because they're not held to a franchise, so they can just kind of be themselves, right? They can make a movie, and I really think they did well with this. The opening, the Swan Lake, I'm with you. I knew immediately what they were doing. I was like, oh yeah, it's definitely Dracula, right? They're going with that feel. The characters, I didn't mind them. The guy who played Frank, Dan Guest, or Dan Stevens, he was in the movie The Guest, which is a really underrated thriller. I really like him a lot. I thought he did good as that character. He was kind of
Adam
sadistic.
Wingard movie, right? The Guest?
Yeah.
Fantastic flick.
Yeah, and I thought he did good. And I thought the guy who played Peter, the big guy, Kevin, he was a little odd, but also understood that he was supposed to be a little stupid. So that was kind of part of his character, was that he was a little bit goofy and stupid. I like the rules in the movie. I like that when you get bit, you kind of become a puppet. But if you get bit and you drink, you become autonomous, right? Because it is weird, like when the one character gets bitten, the blonde girl, and she starts like dancing and stuff. It's a little bit out there, but you have to understand that Abigail's controlling her, right? So Abigail is this however old girl in this little girl's body, and she's obsessed with being a ballerina. So she's got these odd psychotic tendencies to her. So it kind of fit with the character that she would do those type of things, because you think she brings these people in this house to play with them, to eat them. It's a game. She could kill them at any point. It's just fun for her. Right. So I think if you rewatch it, you notice a lot of things in the movie that they're doing. It makes a lot more sense. Because I think first time there were a few things I saw that didn't, and then I rewatched it and I picked up on a lot of these little loose ends.
Once you see the pit with all the bodies, you know that this is a regular thing that's occurring.
Oh, yeah. And I really felt bad watching it because Angus Cloud, he plays the stoner, like, driver guy. He passed away recently. He was in Euphoria. He's a really nice guy in real life, and he died so young. And it's kind of sad seeing him in a movie, just because, like, it's always sad when you see actors that pass young like that. Yeah, I really liked it. I thought there was a lot of creepy scenes. I thought the Rickles guy, like when the main girl, Melissa Barrera, is talking to him and they walk away and he's like, something happens and he's just standing there dead. I thought that was like a very creepy shot where like half of his face has been ripped off. But yeah, I thought I really feel like it didn't pull any punches. I liked when the main guy at the end, Dan Stevens, when he turns into the vampire, they did a little bit of like a callback to Near Dark, because he kind of looks like Bill Paxton in that movie. Like they kind of made him look like Bill Paxton with the glasses and all, and the blood all over his face. And to me, this is Dracula. There's no question about it, right? They just don't have to say it, so you don't have to get into this whole where's the sequel, all this stuff, right? But I really liked it. I just completely 100% disagree with absolutely everything Kellen just said. Respectfully, I know we have our opinions, but I just don't. Man, this was a lot of fun for me. I think this was one of the best vampire films I've seen in like 20 years, for sure.
It didn't know what it wanted to be. It didn't know if it wanted to be dark or funny. It didn't. It never established anything.
Well, a lot of the best vampire films are horror comedy. Lost Boys, Friday Night. Yeah.
But it was shot like a straight horror film, and then had goofy lines at random parts that didn't fit with the mood or mode of the scene. It was just everything felt so out of place. I hated it so much.
I know Jay likes it. He has to.
Well, so this past weekend I went on a hike. I told you guys I was a foot away from a snake. I was very surprised. But the only thing recently that surprised me even more than almost walking dick first into a snake is Kellen hating this movie. I would have put millions that you liked this movie. And here's why. One of the things you said in the text, right? You ruined it for us. You should have fucking done this now. We shouldn't have known your opinion already, because this would have been perfect, because we would have shit all over you so hard. But you said it's so cheesy. You're cheesy.
But it's not good. It's not good cheesy. Like the cheesy I like is when it's like it's cheesy out of necessity. Like a lot of the B movies from the 80s. The cheese in them is more because that's the best they had to work with.
So you like Hellraiser 3 better than Abigail?
Oh my God, it's a far superior movie. Oh my God, that's an Academy Award level winning movie compared to Abigail.
This is blasphemy.
Wow.
This is blasphemy.
Heel
but
turn,
when I
shoulder
like
turn.
cheesy movies, I like one of my favorite movies of all time, The Sandlot. I like it because of the cheesy one-liners, because of the cheesy scenes, the fun. Uh, it
Well,
doesn't take itself
that's a
seriously. This
nostalgia
movie tried to
film
take
too.
itself seriously, but was bathed in that. Not even the American cheese, like the stuff that's made with oil instead of milk. You remember those commercials in the '90s, like "Don't buy your cheese made of oil." That's the kind of cheese this was. That doesn't melt in a microwave. Nobody wants that cheese.
God damn. Like you have sunk the ship. Like you've torpedoed it, bro. And that's what's crazy is I was the first one to see it because we got the passes. So I went. I got this cool shirt. I got a little makeup bag. But I seriously would have told everyone Kellen's gonna love this. I probably said it to Lindsay. I'm like, I can't wait for everybody to watch this so we can all talk about it and have a good time. One of your hangups was the accents. Doesn't matter to me because I can't hear for shit anyways. So accents don't bother me. But I thought the writing was great. I'm pretty sure I texted you guys. I'm like, this was so well written, like dialogue wise. And dialogue is something I usually shit on movies for if it's terrible. But I thought the dialogue was great. I thought everybody's character was great. I thought it was like every actor and actress in this film is great and everything. Like Catherine Newton, she's one of our new scream queens right now. Like she was fantastic. She's the one that transitions into a vampire. And I like the dancing scene. You said it was weird the first time you saw it, John. So
Yeah.
to me, it wasn't because I automatically understood that whole puppetry thing. I'm like Abigail's control. That made it pretty creepy to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I texted you guys right after. I'm like, guys, you got to go see this movie. So obviously, I enjoyed it a lot. The ending left me a little wanting. As far as not overstaying its welcome, I do disagree with that. It was about 15 minutes too long. I think that would have helped a little bit, but overall, I loved it. When it comes out, I'll buy it in a steelbook and put it on my shelf and not run over it like a monster.
What's worse, driving over a steelbook or putting your movies in a binder?
Put them in a binder.
Oh,
What's worse? What's
You can
worse,
drive over
Abigail?
all my steel books because I just put them in the trash can.
All right, Kellen,
Oh,
moment
God.
of truth. Kellen. All right,
Halloween
Kellen.
ends.
Abigail, Halloween ends, Creep Show. Which one do you hate the most?
Abigail by far.
Wow. All right, now raise your hand if you expected that at all, even an inkling. No, exactly. You blew our minds, sir. So let's just start with you. What was your ranking?
And have we ever given a 0?
Not
I
yet.
don't
Can
think so. I've given a 1 to something.
I'm giving it a 0. This movie had 0 redemptive qualities for me, and I absolutely, of all the movies that I personally have shit on, I would watch all of them again in the same day to have to avoid having to watch this movie again. I literally 30 minutes into it prayed. I was watching this in bumper to bumper traffic, and I was hoping just an airplane would come out of the sky and take me from this world.
Megan,
So,
what
0
gets your
out of
man?
5.
Wow.
Damn.
This is like you are like in a bizarro universe that the rest of us were not participating in. And I don't think we watched the same movie.
Was there another Abigail movie that he might have watched? Angela's
God,
Ashley.
I wish I was wrong. I wish I was like, oh man, I watched the 1992 Abigail movie about a prostitute who's down on her luck but finds a John who's just gonna
That's
be nice
called
enough to
Angel.
do it. Right.
All right, we got a 0 from the smiling faced assassin. Pew pew. TJ.
Wow. I'm going to go 3.5. I don't think it's quite to the level of 4. Few things with the ending. The ending didn't really totally land for me. I did feel like this felt shorter than it was. Like when you said it was an hour 49, I was surprised because it felt more like about a 95-minute movie to me. But that's probably just because I was invested in it. And once the action starts going, it's going for like the whole second half of the film.
Yeah. John.
Yeah, I thought the ending, I liked the ending, and I kind of like that Melissa Barrera fooled Frank because he thought she was going to be able to just turn immediately, and obviously she was fucking with him. I thought that was like his downfall. He was so arrogant, he just immediately thought, which is probably how he was in real life as a cop, right? I really want to give this a 5 just to like balance out this fucking monstrosity rating that we just heard. Realistically, it's a 3.5. I really like this movie though.
I'll say one positive thing: Catherine Newton was not unbearable.
Well,
She's a treasure. She's a treasure.
I think low key, this is probably the best film I've seen Melissa Barrera in. Better than the Scream movies. I thought this was her best.
Yeah, she was
yeah,
good
she's
in this.
good.
So that puts us at a 2.6. We're gonna boost it up to a 3. Wah, 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 wah. I'm seriously shell shocked.
Shenanigans.
It's shenanigans. I am seriously shell shocked that you didn't like this movie. I could have not have missed that more. I swear. Who
No,
are you?
I would have bet good money that Kellen would have liked this.
Yeah.
I didn't. I literally didn't like any of the characters. Like I said, other than Catherine Newton's character, who probably should have been the lead.
Yes,
everybody
she should have
else
been the lead.
was just unbearable to watch. And that's saying that I enjoy Dan Stevens and the big guy whose name I can't remember off the top of my head now. And
Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
A
and
zero. A zero?
yeah, and Gus from Breaking Bad. I love those actors, and they're just this god awful garbage. This was garbage. I'm the trash man, and I just took out the trash. Call me
That's
trash
real.
a year would.
Oh,
Damn.
we're gonna get
wow.
letters about this one. Okay,
Went
so
too
that's it
far
for
with
this
trash
episode.
Yearwood.
Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to wherever you're listening to this podcast. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok. Join our group on Facebook. Come back next week. Who knows what we're doing? It's I have it down as the Michelle Bauer interview.
Yeah,
so,
that is what it'll be.
Come up next
Yeah.
week. That was a lot of fun. So big screen queen from the 80s. So be sure to come back and check that one out. Signing off, I'm Jay with John, Dickhead, and TJ. And until next time,
Keep it spooky.
That was uncalled for. No, that was earned. That was deserved.
Wow.
Okay, so I tried to walk it back when I shit on the movie in the group chat and just be like, or did I really enjoy it?
I thought you were
That's
playing
not
with
convincing
us.
at all.
Yeah, I didn't really think you were.
I was on pins
that
and needles the whole
hard.
time.
You're honestly telling me this was better than Men? Are you serious? You honestly could tell me this movie was Men was better than this
There you
movie,
go.
Kellen.
Yeah, Men was way more enjoyable.
Dude,
Even
Men
as
was
slow
like
as it was.
Dude, Men was like fucking unwatchable.
I love Men, but there's no way that this was better.
Come
than,
on, guys.
This
Come
was
on,
Somebody take
better
that.
guys.
than
Somebody take that clip out of
Night Swim.
context. Jay, clip that out of context. TJ loves Men.
That's a real.
I'm comfortable with my thoughts on.
I did like Men. I think Abigail's better than Men,
Yeah.
but I adore Alex Garland. Anything he touches. So
Well, clip that out of context because Abigail's a 12-year-old girl.
damn it. It's also someone's meemaw.
Yikes. I can't even
I would
understand
have
the
watched
rich...
a movie of somebody's Meemaw gum through some canned beans
Oh
and
my
enjoyed it more than
God.
watching this.
I
It
can't
was,
even-
I had high expectations because I remember Jay saying how good it was. And then John said that at that point, he felt like it was one of the best horror films of the year and probably would be to the end of the year because he enjoyed it so much. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I got in and I was literally like, oh no.
Even
I
Lindsay
hate
liked
so
it.
much.
Lindsay liked it, bro.
Maybe
Lindsay
your
liked
expectations were too high for it. Maybe
No,
go-
I don't ever let my expectations get up because I'm really good about pulling expectations out of it. Like
Yeah.
I get excited to watch something independently. Like Love Lies Bleeding, that movie I really enjoyed, and I was excited to watch that from the previews.
Mhm.
Then I watched it and thought it was really good, but I didn't watch it with the expectation that it was going to be this, 5-star film. I watched it with the expectation of it was going to be an enjoyable watch. And that's usually how I go through movies. Am I going to go in? I go in thinking, okay, this is going to be an enjoyable watch, or this is going to be something. I did that with Creep Show. As much as I shit on Creep Show, I went in with the expectation, well, this is going to be right up my alley. Like y'all
Right.
said, I mean, this is going to be 80s cheese. This is going to be gold. Like that. This is going to be like another Tombstone where I'm going to be disappointed in myself that I haven't watched it yet. And then when I watched it, I was like, no, I just can't get into it.
I can even understand like The Ritual because like I didn't like it, but when I think back on it, I realized that the script is the main thing I didn't like. The movie itself like had benefits. It wasn't. It was just the script was just not for me. But man, I just
Hell, you've
Shocking
even
to
got
me.
me coming around just slightly on Terrifier 2 not being the worst film I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But my
I
God,
mean,
I didn't go as hard on that as you did on Abigail.
Damn, I know, right?
And
All right.
and Abigail, I feel like it was like it. I think the disappointing thing to me is, and this is a lot of times what kills a movie for me, and it's the same thing with Creepshow. It's the same thing with some of the other movies that I've shit on, is you can see the elements there. Like you can see, like this is a good idea. Like this girl stalking and killing these people in this house, like her being the villain. Like, and typically they would go the route of you need to protect this girl because she's the savior of mankind, and you're protecting her from some kind of
Like
evil
the Fifth
monster.
Element or something.
And instead, she is the monster, which is obvious from the beginning. Even though they try to disguise it, you can't show a preview for this kind of movie and not give away the secret.
Right.
But it had the elements there, and like I said, my big issue is it was just time after time it was miscue after miscue. Like Dan Stevens is such a great actor, he didn't have to go with a Brooklyn accent. That was not necessary at all. Or he could have gone with a more subtle accent than trying to be over the, hey, I'm walking here. I mean,
So the accents
what he was
really
going
take
for.
you out of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I've mentioned that before, but yeah, as soon as you do something that makes me realize that, oh, this is a movie, this isn't alternate reality. Like I'm no longer whisked away to this magical plane where vampires exist. I'm in a seat that's now uncomfortable. My ass is sweating, and I can't wait to remove myself from this horror show.
Do you like Daniel Craig's accent in the Knives Out films?
That doesn't bother me because it's almost
It's so
comical.
over the top.
Yeah, exactly.
I
This
didn't
one is
think-
like he
I
was
say-
really trying to do a thick Brooklyn accent and just
It
couldn't
sounds
pull
like
it
Colonel
off.
Sanders mixed with Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah. I didn't think
Now,
Dan
when
Stevens
you
was that
say
bad
that
in
you
this.
saw the
honestly.
knife, where did you exactly see the
Dan
knife
Stevens
at?
is never bad. Dan
I didn't
Stevens
think he
is
was
never
bad in this. And I noticed accents.
His acting's
I didn't-
fine. His voice
Yeah.
was just nails on a chalkboard.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't even notice it till you said it, honestly. It didn't even
You're
click.
gonna knock
I'm
it
gonna
down
go to
half
bed
a
and
point next
cry.
time you watch it.
I'm gonna go to bed and cry over Kellen's hot take on it.
Hey, I gave you some real material that
Yeah,
if anybody liked
it's
this
gonna
movie
be
and happens
Kellen
to see it, and they happen to see my take of it, we might get some comments because I did not hold back, and that was all legit.
So this is taking
To
the number one spot.
Legit quit.
Worst movie of all time for you.
I don't know if I'd say the worst movie. You know what? And Things is better than this because the last 20 minutes of
Oh,
Things is
no.
so bad.
Wow.
No, listen, the last 20 minutes, the voiceover
No,
dub
yeah.
is so bad in that
We're
movie,
not-
it becomes hysterical.
We're not
This
saying
is just
things
getting
is better
ridiculous
than this
now.
movie. No. Did he leave?
He left.
He couldn't.
That was
He
too
couldn't take
much.
it.
Too much. Couldn't take it.
That was funny, man. That is funny. I mean, it is hilarious to see our like divisive reactions. That always makes the show. It's funny.